All right, welcome everybody. We're glad you're here. And just to start off, Jamie and I just had a conversation. Kim was listening in on. She got to participate in that. We're going to finish up this book on chapter 21, and we're going to move to the next book, which is Today I Begin a New Life by Dave Blanchard. And so we'll start with that one because we'll have some time. You know, like there's going to be 4th of July weekend and some different things coming up where we'll have to skip, but some of those things. But let's start that one. The rest, chapter 21 is really a nice way to end, and you can still go back and finish reading the whole book. But this gives us an opportunity to move forward. We spent a lot of time in this one. Totally worth it. We'll probably try to do this maybe even on a yearly basis. It never hurts to go over this again, all this stuff, just to remind ourselves and get back into the thought of it and to have more conversation about it. But anyway, so we're going to finish up tonight on our study of the habits of health. And actually next year we should have a new revision. So that should be interesting. That'll make it a little interesting too. So tonight we're studying chapters 20 and 21, and I'm going to let Jamie lead. I've been gone all weekend and haven't even had time to skim the chapters to to be ready. So I'm going to let her take the lead. But there's so much good information in here, as I skimmed just quickly from before. So anyway, so take it away, Jamie.
Well, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on chapter 20, but the things that I did find interesting that I wanted to point out was on page 243, where it talks about that medications versus nutrients, and that medications bring about some limited improvement by decreasing symptoms, but the folks that are just taking medications never actually really improve their health because they're just really decreasing or masking their symptoms and not, I guess not figuring out what the root cause is. Whereas if we fuel our body with the proper nutrients that we're supposed to have, then they're very different from medications. Because if you look on page 244, I like the little paragraph in the sidebar where it talks about nutrients aren't like medications, that medications are foreign intruders that work temporarily in our body, but that nutrients are we have them naturally occurring in our bodies, so that when we're fueling our bodies the right way, then that's what helps us reach optimal health. So chapter 20 really just talks about all the nutrients, all the vitamins, all the minerals that we need, the antioxidants. What was that?
Sorry.
So, unless anybody wants to talk about anything or has any questions, I didn't even get through this whole chapter because I was trying to read about every single nutrient and every single vitamin and, highlight the foods that it was found in, how many, whether it's milligrams or whatever the unit was that you needed a day. I also want to point out that on page 247, how many of you take a multivitamin every day now? This was a statistic that I found interesting. So it said that despite the fact that multivitamins have been proven extremely effective for health, only 2 in 5 people actually take them. So, and I know personally, I've had times where I forget to take them, but I always try and, take one every day. But so most of the multivitamins have everything that we need.
I always worry about taking too much of that stuff, but I guess that this is proof that you need to take it every day.
Right.
Well, and I hear often people talk about how much we don't absorb. So, even though you are taking a multivitamin, you're not absorbing all of that. So it's still you're still absorbing some of it. I take a pack in the morning and another pack in the evening, and it has most of the vitamins that he recommended at the end of the chapter. There is a you probably were going to go over that, maybe Jamie, that end part where he kind of goes through what to take.
Yep.
and lays that out for you. I can't remember what page that's on. I'm looking.
It kind of starts on 258 where he talks about, okay, he's given you all that information, so now where do you go from there? And he kind of, then it kind of goes over the recommended amounts. And then on page 261, he just really goes down through step 1, add fish oil. Step 2, add a multivitamin. Step 3, make sure your multivitamin includes all the B vitamins. And if it doesn't, then to add all those B vitamins. So yeah, the bulk of the chapter and what you get out of it is towards the end, where he talks about what you should be adding. I like that chapter in the sense that it's a really good reference tool, I think, to go back to. If you have questions about, those different vitamins and minerals, I liked it for that. So that's all I'm going to talk about in that chapter, unless you want to talk about something else.
No, I just thought it was nice to have the steps of what to add, and he was pretty specific about that. So you can even take what you're taking, look at what you're taking now and see what maybe you need to supplement.
Yes.
So that was really, and actually he even, like, one thing, what was it? He does tell you what foods are high in those things. So if you make sure that you add those, I mean, it's probably easier for us to take a multivitamin or to take the extra vitamins. But like one of the things, what was it that had selenium? You can take this or eat 2 Brazil nuts. I thought that was interesting. So
yeah, I did like it because he listed out the foods too. So I thought that was good.
Yeah.
The very last paragraph in that chapter on page 263 leads us into chapter 21. And I thought that was a really good way to put that. He says that, let's take a closer look deep inside where the seeds of health are planted. Not at the physical you we've been optimizing through healthy foods and supplements. So not in all the things that we've been talking about, but at the emotional you, whose ability to deal with stress and find happiness and fulfillment is a key component of the journey to optimal health. And I found it interesting that this last chapter is the last chapter in this phase, because this part is probably one of the most important parts, because and it even talks about in chapter 21 that if you find, actually I have it highlighted, it says, if an individual is not on purpose in their lives, helping them create long-term health is an uphill battle. So I like chapter 21 a lot, and I think it's obviously the most important chapter, because if we're not healthy emotionally, then it's really hard to focus on our health, eating healthy foods, exercising, and all that.
Well, it goes back to, I think, dieting versus lifestyle change, because if we're just dieting, that kind of lends itself to not making long-term changes. You're just making a change to achieve a goal, and then you go back to what you were doing before. And not that we're all perfect at that, but you think about the different little changes you can make and continue to make to. But if you don't have that, if you don't know why you're doing it and you don't have that motivation, it's a lot harder. It's so much easier just to go back to what you used to do.
Yep. And at the start of the chapter, it talks about how busy we are. And I'm laughing because I had one of those days where all I did was run my kids to town. That's all I did. That's all I had time to do. Just drive to town, back home, drive to town, back home. And so it kind of talks about that, how we get up, we go to work, we do our thing, we do that every day, we get home, we do our thing at home, we go to bed, and then we wake up, we do it all over again. We look forward to the weekends, but then the weekends go by so fast, and we find ourselves on Sunday night thinking, oh, here we have to go again with another crazy week. And it's a vicious cycle. And it talks about how we're the first generation to actually rank the quality of our lives lower than our parents, which is also interesting, because I look at all of the technology that we have and all of the, most, we just have so many things, but yet the quality of our lives, sometimes a lot of us, I know I have been in places in my life where I don't enjoy my life. It's not fulfilling to me, but I'm just doing the same thing every day. Just get up and do it. So this chapter on the first on page 264, he asks the question, do you know what really matters to you? And that sadly, most of us don't ever really think about that. So, and he talks about how for most people, a lot of us want like financial security or the resources to be able to buy what we want. But if we dig a little deeper and ask why those people want those things, then you find out that it's because, you know, we think that those things are going to make us happier. And so, and it's kind of like what you said about dieting.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in that mindset and you think I need to lose weight because I'm going to be happier, but you don't really ever dig into the why, then even when you get to your goal weight, you're probably not going to be happier because you weren't happy to begin with. So,
I was thinking about that. I can't remember. I was talking to my one of my daughter's boyfriend, Dan, and he's from Berlin, and you know they live a backpacker's life, so they're often disconnected from the world. And some of, I think, our issues are that we know every horrible thing that happens in the world. I mean, if you watch the news, you know, that really contributes to your peace of mind, I think, because there's nothing I can do about some horrible thing that happened on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world, and I don't need to worry about it. But our parents didn't have to. They basically knew. Well, even us. I mean, Kim and I are the same age. You know, even when we were young women, we you didn't know about all this stuff, and it wasn't constantly fed to you, and you know that wears on you. I think that's a big contributor to why we're unhappy, because we're constantly told that we should be.
right.
Look how horrible the world is.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and you never disconnect on the technology. You were talking about technology earlier, and it's very hard to be able to disconnect yourself, you know, even in the evenings to go to sleep or whatever. You know, the iPhone's right there next to your bed, the iPad's there, the computer's there.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't get away from it.
Right. Yeah, and I know, Terry, you recommended I quit watching the news, and I don't watch it nearly as much, and I actually enjoy my mornings a lot more not watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and what can you do? You know, all that stuff. My daughter just said she signed up for something where they send her just a little synopsis of what's going on. I mean, if you feel like you need to know what's going on, but you know, honestly, I haven't missed it. I don't care. I don't care what Donald Trump's doing right now. I don't care what, you know, not that I don't care about people, but that is not helping me be a better person or live a fulfilled life, you know, to some degree. I mean,
right.
we need to know what's going on for stuff that impacts us directly, but there's so much more that, man, I don't need to know that, you know.
Right.
What am I going to do about that, you know? Just worry about it. So.
And if I also liked Helen Keller's quote that he has on the sidebar on page 265, that security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. I know me personally, I get hung up in the stress of worrying about everything. And so I just have to tell myself that it's okay. And he kind of, in this chapter, he talks about now how he's going to teach us how to, you know, live a less stressful life, I guess, or deal with all of that stuff. So it talks, I found that study interesting about the older people that this Richard Leader asked, you know, he surveyed, it doesn't say, he said over 20 years interviewing people in the final years of their lives, but if you could live your life over again, what would you change? And I mean, I think everybody would say this, that, you know, they wish they would have paid more attention to the bigger picture and not all the small stuff, and that they would have taken more risks, and then that they would have left a legacy. So they would have done something meaningful. And then Dr. Anderson talks about his own story, which I found really interesting too, just how he was, you know, obviously had a very successful career as a medical doctor, but he realized that once he had his 2 kids, that he wanted to spend more time with his family. And I think that goes for a lot of us. Like when he was single, he was, that's what he went to school for, and that's what his passion was, and he loved that, and he wasn't stressed out because he was doing that and he was single. Then once he had kids, and I know for me personally, this happened to me too in my career, what I went to school for and what was important in my life at that time became less important once I had kids. And so, you know, you want to spend more time with them and you want to be there for your kids, and so then your job becomes stressful. And so he talks about how aligning our life with our sense of purpose should be our top priority, not something that gets swept aside while we put all our energy into the mundane day-to-day issues. I'm gonna, since I think it's 8:20, I'm gonna skip over to on page 268, unless you want to add something in there, Terry. But
No, that was great.
I guess there was another quote that I liked too before that. I can't say this person's name, but it's on page 267, and it says, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." And I think that's important too. You know, once we know our purpose, then everything around us becomes not so stressful if we're aligning what our why is with what we're doing in our life. So on page 268 and 269, he has those quadrants. And so when you look at those, and he explains, you know, the different ones, but if you look at the one on page 269 and you kind of read the descriptions, and then if you just look at that, and he even talks about, you know, just take some quiet time for yourself and just sit down and really think about where you're at right now and where you really want to be, and is what you're doing, if what you're doing right now is not aligned with what your why is, then you have the power to change that. Only you can control that. Nobody else can. So, and he talks about that in here too. Yeah, on page 270 is where he's talking about, you know, that sometimes when you actually sit down and do that, sometimes that process is uncomfortable because you don't want to admit that maybe you do have the power to change. I know for me personally, I've been in a place where, you know, well, I can't quit my job because my family depends on my income. You know, it's not their fault that I'm unhappy. You know, I just need to keep working and plugging through. But when we really sit down and, you know, think about that, what is that doing to them, your family? Yes, you're working and you're providing an income, but you're not happy. And your kids and your spouse and whoever you're living with, your friends, even, they know that, they can see that. So all of that negative energy, you know, kind of flows onto them too. So I really like this chapter a lot. And he kind of, I mean, he really just goes into, you know, giving you some suggestions on just really how to find your why and how to align that with your purpose. So, you know, on page 273, he has some other, you know, topics. Some of us already, you know, find your hobby. Lots of people have hobbies, and we all know that our hobbies make us happy. We have to make time to do them. That's another thing.
That's the trick, isn't it?
Yes, and we can put them off, but really, at like they said in that study, at the end of your life, those are the things that are important. You know, it's, yes, nobody wants to live in their van, have to lose all their possessions or anything like that. But sometimes we can make a trade for, you know, the material things for just really enjoying your family and spending time with them. And
I had someone say, I've listened to a few people and they talk about that, and they say, well, instead of saying I can't do it, say, what if I did? And just keep asking yourself, what if I do that? What if I do this, or what if I do that? Or, you know, how can I, you know, what would that look like? You know, ask yourself in a positive way. And, you know, maybe it's not going to happen overnight, but maybe there's a plan you can put into place.
mm-hmm. Yep. And I think that is why I liked Helen Keller's quote on page 265, because we are all searching for security and we all want stability and we all want that, but she's right. nothing is secure. Not anything we have is secure, but just how we choose to enjoy every day, and that we are enjoying every day and not just waiting, till we're 20 pounds lighter, or, have X amount of money in our bank account, or our kids are a certain age or whatever, just enjoying every single day in the moment that we're in, but making sure that we're living every day, and that we know why we're doing what we're doing, and it's aligned with really what we've defined as our purpose for life. And it also talks about in this chapter how that can change. What your why is today, might not, it doesn't have to stay that way for the rest of your life, but as long as you continue to kind of identify what your why is and stay aligned with that, instead of just letting the day-to-day take over and control you. And I thought that was interesting.
I was listening to a podcast today kind of about that, but it talked about, we are created to do great things. Heavenly Father didn't send us here, or, whatever you believe, but we're not here to be mediocre. And we embrace what all the things that you can do and all the people you do touch. Maybe right now, for some of you, it's taking care of small children. That's a great thing. That's going to have a huge ripple effect. I know Kim does a big walk because her grandson had eye cancer, right?
Yep.
In his eye. And she does this big fundraiser for St. Jude's. And, just all the wonderful things people can do that's beyond what we think we can do as an individual. I just think it's just interesting, how things take us in different places too sometimes.
I found where it actually on page 268, it talks about that is a habit of health, having the flexibility to recognize when change needs to happen and to adjust accordingly.
I also listened today and they talked about being out of our comfort zone, and how being uncomfortable that's really the norm, but we don't like it. And if we're growing, we're a little bit uncomfortable. So if you're feeling really content with where you're at, then you're not moving forward. So. So anyway.
I think, on the very last page on 274, there are some quotes. I'm a quote person. I like them, but he said, here's a final guideline. Do what you love, or love what you do. It's really that simple. And it really is that simple. And then the very last italicized paragraph on there, I won't read all of it, but it basically summarized that this gentleman really you couldn't tell the difference between his work and his play, because he had figured out what his purpose in life was, and that his hobby was his work, and vice versa. And I actually have some cousins who I admire them because what they went to school for, it's a hobby for them too, and they're making money doing it, but they love it. And so to them it's not a job, it's a hobby, and it's fun. And I think that's what I wish for my own children, is to find something that they just love to do, and they get paid for it, even better.
Yeah, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not always easy to do, but
no.
Awesome. That was a great chapter. Any other comments about that chapter, you guys? If you haven't had a chance, I would highly recommend go ahead and rereading it or reading it. Anybody have a comment or two?
And is it Shiloh? I saw you are you wondering about why we're stopping the book at this chapter, even though there's still more chapters left?
Oh, no, that's fine. I hadn't gone any further than that. I hadn't looked at it. So
yeah, there's just a couple chapters left, and it's pretty short. But we kind of figured that this chapter was a great way to kind of end this book, and then we can move on to the next one. And we're proposing, I'll say it again because I think Sarah wasn't on when we did that. We're proposing reading Today I Begin a New Life by Dave Blanchard. But you guys, if you have books that you'd like to do, put them in the group. I mean, this one won't take us. I mean, this isn't a textbook like we just did, but this is a shorter book and it's a faster read, but I think you'll enjoy it. But put something in. If you have a book that you would like to read or have us talk about, that would be fun too. We would love to have you do that, or something that you've been wanting to read. I know I'm reading a couple right now. I'm reading The Power of Consistency, and I'm reading Eat That Frog too. So there's tons and tons of books that we could read. So whatever your personal, if you've got a goal.
What is the book that you guys are reading?
Today I Begin a New Life.
Today I Begin a New Life.
Yeah, by Dave Blanchard.
Okay.
It's based on the Og Mandino principles. So if you have read anything by Og Mandino, he is the CEO of the Og Mandino Foundation or Institute. I've seen him speak many, many times, and he's really awesome. So I think you'll enjoy his book. There'll be videos that I probably can find and put in our group too that you might enjoy of him speaking. He's a lot of fun to listen to. We're at 7:30, but I just want to also invite you to two things. Jamie and I are going to a health retreat in July in Dallas. If anyone would like to come with us, we would love to have you. And if you want to know more information, ask me or Jamie about it. It's going to be a blast. It'll be a long weekend, and we'll learn a lot, and stay at a fun hotel and just have a grand time. So if you want to know more, let me know. Also Monday, we are starting a new Healthy Games, a 4-week Healthy Games. It's a virtual health, I don't know, how did we do a health game? Jamie, you haven't done it yet, have you?
Nope.
Basically, you go in and you get to read a little something. You earn points. Oh gosh, earn points. And we do it as a team. We'll have a little team. I'll post the link if anyone would like to do it. It's 4 weeks. It'll cost you $23. But I have always earned my money back if I meet my goal, because you can maintain or lose weight, and then you earn so many points, which means you have to go in each day. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes to do it, and it's fun. And you learn a lot. They use the principles of this book as the foundation for it. But, it'll ask you, did you read enough? Did you drink, 80 ounces of water today? You get points for that. Did you follow your health or your eating plan? It may be the eating plan that I work with, or it can be anything. There'll be people with doing different things. So it's all kinds of things. What else? Sleep. Did you get enough sleep last night? And you get points for that. And you read a little bit. There's an opportunity to interact with the team. It's a lot of fun. So if you would like, I'll post the link. And if you'd like to join, it starts Monday. And I'd love to have you be in there with me. It's just 4 weeks. So it'll be nice. It'll be fast and furious. They do them kind of regularly, but this would give you a nice taste for it. So, because twice a year they do a 6-week one. So, anyway.
How long is this one again?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay.
And
is it similar to what the other ones used to be?
Yeah, they've made a lot of improvements, though, Kim. You haven't done it in a while, so
Yeah.
I think you'll like it. Lots of opportunities to learn, and anyway, it's fun. We have a little team, so it'll be great. All right. Any questions?
Okay, one more time. What was that book you wanted us to read again?
Today I Begin a New Life.
Today I Begin a New Life. Okay.
Dave Blanchard.
Oh, by Dave Blanchard. I thought you said Og Mandino.
Well, he's the CEO of Og Mandino
Okay.
Institute. So the principles are Og Mandino principles, but the guy that wrote it is Dave Blanchard.
Is this something that would be like in like a library book or an ebook?
You might be able to find it. You might be able to. Mm-hmm. I know I have it downloaded. You might be able to buy it used too, Kim, on Amazon. A lot of times you can buy this stuff used.
Okay.
I always look for that first.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's always selling
Either
it.
that or free Kindle.
Yeah. Yeah, and then sometimes if you buy it, you buy the book for $1.99. You can get the Kindle version on top of it, or the Audible version. That's really
Yeah.
nice. I listen to a lot of my books. So,
Okay.
all right, ladies,
Okay.
I'll post that in the group too, Sarah.
I got it now. Thank
Okay. All right, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. And if we don't all have the book, we'll just start talking, about that first chapter. That sound good, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So if we don't have enough time, we'll go slow for the first week anyway. So.
Or if we need to maybe have some more, if somebody has more questions on the habits of health, we could do that too next Monday. If you think of something.
Yeah.
If time.
Why don't you? What do you want to do? Should we take next week and just do a wrap up?
Maybe.
And then that gives everybody 2 weeks to get the book.
Yeah.
That sound good,
Yeah.
you guys? Okay.
Yep. Okay. That sounds good.
All right. Have a
Okay.
great evening. Night.
Bye.
Bye.